Okay, Dave.
We good? Regular council meeting of August 14th will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle, you want to do the roll call?
Shaw.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Conan.
Here.
Adair. Here. Belkey.
Here.
Sleds.
Here.
Ballard.
Here.
Okay. Council, you've had a chance to look at the agenda. What do you say?
President, I'll move the agenda be approved as presented. Support.
Motion by Ballard, supported by Shaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Are there any citizen comments?
Hello. I'm Amy Barzik, and today I'm just asking for the village council to take the next step in fixing our streets. I'm hoping that you will vote yes to hire a company to break down all the street repairs and find a way to pay for it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Jason Scott, 73512 Fulton Street. I'm requesting the council to consider a yard debris pickup or designated site for residents during the spring and summer months. Priority Waste no longer accepts yard debris, and the bi-monthly site on Armada Ridge Road also refuses yard debris. As is common, I trim the vegetation on my property twice, leaving me with no alternative to disposing of these clippings. Your consideration would rid the streets of the unsightly brown bags which have been common over the last several weeks. As it now stands, the village DPW picks up large branches on Fridays and leaves in the fall. Containers of clippings could be shredded and or dropped off at a designated site. Residents would be truly grateful.
Thank you. Are there any other citizen? Yes, sir.
So I just want to reiterate, I'm Bob Richter.
Yeah, right. Please rise and give your name.
Stand up even at my age. Yeah, so I'm Bob Richter, Franklin Lane, 73959. And I just want to talk about the roads as well. Everybody agrees that they're in bad shape. What we're really interested in is some sort of a plan that lays out how much is going to get repaired each year in some sort of sequence over a 20-year span or something, divide up all the roads into 20 or 25, and then do some sort of a who's going to do what by when type approach, so that everybody can sort of look at it and say, okay, I know mine's going to get done in 28, mine's going to get done in 29, something like that. So that's just my comments.
Well, normally we don't have citizens' comments on things that are on the agenda tonight, but some of this will be covered tonight, I believe. Anyhow, are there any other citizen comments? So, presentations. For a change, we got something really good for the meeting tonight. Although I wish we could delay this for a few more years, but I'm really glad to do this. Would Chief please step up here? Chief Chris? As you know, that Chief Chris is retiring from the Armada Township Fire Department, and we've been extremely happy with the service we've got. And you want to stand up and come on up here, Chris? Miss Crouch, why don't you come up here too, please? No, there's always somebody behind a great man.
Behind the man, that's right. Okay, this is the certificate of recognition presented on August 14th, 2023 to Chris Bracci. This certificate is proudly presented in recognition and appreciation of 4 years of dedicated service to the Village of Armada in your position as Fire Chief. Your time with the Armada Township Fire Department has highlighted your outstanding morals and dedication to the residents of the Village of Armada. Your professional, conscientious consideration and conduct as fire chief has entitled you to the respect befitting a department's finest example of a firefighter. Your leadership during the tornado of July 24, 2021, which devastated our village, was no less than outstanding. We, the village council, fully understand that the contacts you made in the hours after the tornado struck were instrumental in restoring our village as quickly as it was. We, the village council and staff, are honored to have known and worked with you. We hope you find your retirement to be as distinguished as was your employment. Thank you very much.
I'll just say a couple quick words because I don't like talking about them. What I can tell you is Armada's fire departments, from 2009 to today has made unbelievable strides.
Yeah.
There is a great group of individuals over there. When I started, there's only, I think, 3 of the original full-timers that are, and today there's 12. They are incredible men and women. They will serve you great. I have complete faith in them. We now live in the township ourselves, and they will just carry on, do great things.
Thank you for
Thank you,
everything.
Jason.
Thank you. Gonna miss you.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you for the recognition and just everything, your support.
We're glad to have you here.
Okay, moving on. Administrative reports. What commissioner would like to start first?
Oh, well, I got a quick one. The plant's been preparing for the fair. We'll be putting the sampler down there on the fairgrounds like we do every year. And in regards to the door problem we had down at the plant, we've got the door working now, and we just have to replace the glass in that door. So other than that, everything's good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Who would like to go next? Ross, go ahead.
Just a few things here. We did complete the ZBA meeting last week and approved Larry's Auto for side yard setback on the north side of the building. It's an interesting case because we're bound by zoning ordinance and various processes and requirements, but in a case where he's really not impacting anybody, you try to give it to the property owner. And in this case, his north side yard abuts a service drive to the wastewater treatment plant, a parking lot, and the trail. Lance Holwig was here to speak on his behalf, and in fact, it's my understanding too that the Planning Commission is looking to change the industrial area side yard setbacks from 20 feet to 10 feet. So, not sure exactly where Larry's going to come out. He's probably going to be 10 feet or 9 feet or maybe 11 feet, but we gave it to him, and I think that was a good decision. We're on track for the water tower to be drained and sanitized the week of 6th through 10 November. That assumes the variable frequency drive in well house number 7 has been installed and operating, which I'm pretty confident, knock on composite wood here, that's going to be done. So, and then finally, I had a conversation with Nancy Magel, and she informed me that looking over the infrastructure CIP, she found an error, and I would agree with her. I got to talk with my 2 compadres here, streets and sewer, but I think we misgraded east and west side of Prospect Street, so we'll make that adjustment. I think it's a pretty simple one. So I did invite Nancy to be our unofficial advisor. She hasn't accepted yet. That's all.
Thank you, Ross. Who would like to go next? Chris?
I'm on the agenda, so. No.
Okay, you don't have anything else?
Unless you want.
No, we're not.
Shoes, I'm going. Okay, this is the police department's report for July. Traffic tickets issued with 5. Driving while license suspended, 1. Assault for domestic with an arrest was 1. Assist the Armada Township Fire Department inside the village, 3. Assist other agencies, 3. Macomb County Sheriff in Armada Township. Suspicious situation, they investigated 1. Dog or animal complaint, we had 1. A disturbance, we had 1 that was taken care of. Alarm, open door, we had 3. Domestic disturbance, 1. Juvenile related incident, we had 2. And miscellaneous calls for service, there were 8. Missing persons, 3. Lost and found property, 1. An issue of theft, we had 1. And motor vehicle accidents, we had 1. And as of March 31st, 2023, the miles on patrol car 431 are 88,985 miles. On car 432, the F-150 equals 27,473 miles. 433, the unmarked Dodge is 63,212 miles.
Okay,
Nothing too
very good. Okay, that covers our administrative report. Okay. Make sure you look over the treasurer's report, you guys. General business, consent agenda.
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
Motion by Ballard, supported by Clark, to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Okay, no old business to discuss, new business. Metro Act permit extension. You wanna take that,
We received this, I think it's every 5 years, so this is just the renewal time. But I will ask whoever makes the motion, please say to approve and authorize the president to sign.
Mr. President, I'll resolve to authorize the president,
Approve and authorize.
approve and authorize the president to sign the Metro Act right-of-way permit extension on behalf of the village.
Support.
Are there any questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. So, moving on. Sewer rate resolution amendment.
What this is, it's just gonna break out so it's more clear to the residents, their payment. It doesn't change the amount, it just breaks it out from the commodity charge and then the debt service charge. Before, we just had the commodity charge. So, and then the proposed adds a new item number 2, and everything else moves. Before we had 1 through 6, now it's gonna be 1 through 7.
I might just add that water is already doing this, so I think it's a good move. I mean, so you can see what that payment is, and over and above what your water payment is.
And again, it's not an increase or anything, it just breaks it out better so you can see.
Better accounting, we were doing for.
So if there are no questions,
I have a question, Steve. Are we sure that the connection fee of $13.59 per connection is off?
well, it has been a while. Just right now, we can keep it that way. I'll have the guys check in to see what, I know equipment costs more and time costs more too.
Materials are costing more than everything else.
Yeah, okay, we will look into that.
Capital improvement might be one that you might want to change, because now you have a $5 million plant down there.
Yeah. Always something.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Becky.
Did you have a motion?
I'm trying.
Before Becky interrupted the meeting?
It be resolved to adopt the attached sewer resolution as amended.
Support.
Motion by Clark, supported by Ballard. And we need a roll call on this.
Clark,
Yes?
Ballard,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Belkey.
Yes.
Oops, hold on, sorry, I messed up. Sleds,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Adair.
Yes.
And we will look into those other items. Thank you, everyone.
Let's see if there's.
It's not on there, I called it, I know she's here.
Uh,
Oh, does it say Rolex?
Okay, moving on. Okay, you wanna, we received a letter, I'm sure you've all looked at it, from Mr. Albright from the bar and grill. I made a bar and grill. You wanted to explain this?
Well, he's asking for a handrail to be installed on the step that is outside of the building. Their property line begins at the outside of their building, so that step is technically village property. So he's asking, I think in his letter, he's asking us to install it. I sent it over to Jeff, we talked. He thought a better way of going about it is to grant them permission to install one, just like we did for Ross with the window wells. You know, it's kind of the same thing, you know, just a way to keep them safe. So do you want to add anything,
Yeah,
Jeff?
I'd add something, Jeff.
It is a unique situation, and we probably have to do a little bit of due diligence just to make sure that that's the case. But in many of the Main Street addresses, the moment you step out the door, you're on village property. The student, I mean, I don't want to diminish the risk. I mean, if it's as he described, you know, you always would like to minimize risk, especially on village property. However, this is only going to benefit one business, and that's the reason we've always, when asked, and we've had these fairly frequently, to make improvements on the village property when it's benefiting that one business. So I don't think the cost here is great, but I'm also not sure that it's a village taxpayer responsibility to install. But again, that's up to council. I would just think it would be unfair to the prior property owners that we asked to pay full freight.
I think our plan is, right now, unless somebody says something different, is that we would send a letter to him, giving him permission to do that.
Well, we
just need a council to approve it.
Several years ago, the prior owner came and asked.
Well, the same owner owns the building.
Oh, still owns the building,
Yes,
this guy
yes.
owns the business, okay.
Yes.
And we approved it for them to install it, but they never did it.
Right, no, I mean, I agree. I think we've been fairly consistent over the
Right.
years, and it's hard now to say, well, you know, it's only $500 versus $3,000 or $4,000. I mean, whether it's a proper expenditure of the village, irregardless of the amount, you know.
Yeah, I'm not contesting anything, is that how we're gonna treat all of these stoops, abutments, protuberances out of buildings? Because we do have some throughout the downtown. I've got several, and I guess I've always considered them mine because they went, in my mind, with the building. I've got to have that, in one case, a concrete stoop to get into my apartments. And the concrete stoop is starting to deteriorate. Is that now the village's responsibility to come and fix that? That's the kind of thing I don't want to do.
We think it's yours.
Well, then I would say,
What's
why
fair is fair.
is ownership not with me?
Right.
So, it's an interesting question. I just, you know.
I mean, the logical extension of that is, what's gonna happen is, if we're gonna assume maintenance, repair, things like that, we're probably not gonna do it as frequently as the business owner whose residents that are stepping on it are for his purposes only, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably the long term.
Yeah. I just wonder if that opens the village up to a lawsuit, somebody takes a tumble.
That's why
It's
we're
been
talking to
attempted.
Jeff here.
It hasn't, yeah,
Okay.
they haven't.
No, I just, as I looked at this, because I've got some of those things.
Yeah.
For my business, just how do we address them and how do we, so it sounds like the village says all of that stuff at the perimeter of the building and beyond, the sidewalk apron and these protuberances belong to the
Think
building.
of it this way, Ross, the easiest way it's no different than a sidewalk. A public sidewalk is located on the right-of-way, right?
Yeah.
And who pays for those types of improvements? I mean, we have.
It's kind of 50/50.
Yeah, but, you know, we don't pay for 100% of it, and the reason is again, there's a benefit to the business, and I would argue there's a stronger benefit, like I said, nobody from the public's gonna go use your apartment typically, right, for a public purpose.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, well, just so the council knows, I need to do some concrete repair, and I was planning on doing it. But it was just from the standpoint of me thinking that that was my stoop, not my sidewalk, but that little chunk of concrete there was mine. There may be a case, and I'm just exploring it with this, maybe a case where I've got a set of steps now which are really insufficient, and I probably need to expand them to be to code. And so that would be, I think, would come to planning, just request that. The village, I would think, would not then necessarily block it. I'm just looking for a common sense way to handle all these, because there's some across the street on the north side of Maine. I think there's some over by Cozy's. I've definitely got some. Okay, so village owns it? Okay, so I'm good.
But the majority of the Main Street stoops
Are part of the building,
Are
they're
inset
like yours,
into the
they're
building.
inset into the building.
Yeah, some are and some aren't. It's just,
it
it's
is a
just
mixed bag over the.
yeah, it's an interesting one. Well, and you said it right off the bat that this was an interesting.
We do have a motion written here.
Yeah.
Is anybody interested in making that motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I'll resolve to authorize the village clerk to respond to the request for a handrail system at 23804 East Main Street, informing the property owner that the village will allow for the requested installation paid for by the property owner and subject to the terms and conditions of a license granted by the village and reimbursed for the fees associated with preparations of the license by the village attorney.
Support that.
Okay. Motion by Ballard, supported
By Shaw.
by
I gave it to
Belkey.
Mike. I gave it to Mike, he said it first.
I give it to Belkey because he's a business owner and he did.
Okay, Mike, you're up.
All right. That's when Mark comes and complains about it, I can talk to him about it.
Okay, all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Sorry, Mike.
I did have a reason.
That's
Okay,
fine.
okay, moving on to Lathrop Street.
Yeah, let's pull it out of here.
So, I think Chris, this is yours, right?
This one is mine if I can keep, there we go, try to separate them all out of here. All right, so we've, Road did handle the bidding for us. We had 4 bids that came in, all above the target but below the budget, so which is great. And the low bidder was Diamond Excavating. There is in the package, you can see the bid comparisons for all the bidders and where they were in each of the categories. Diamond X has been active, very active recently, going for a host of repaving projects in the northern suburbs here. Make sure there's anything else here.
Chris, if I could
Yes.
ask, if this were approved, what would be the approximate construction schedule?
Late October. Yeah, you never know. But fortunately, it's.
Quit being negative,
We're good
trying to
to-
do
we're good to the
something.
So, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid for the Lathrop Street reconstruction project from Diamond Excavating LLC for the not-to-exceed amount of $271,825.25.
Support.
Ballard. Want to call the roll?
There's no discussion.
Is there any discussion on this? I'm sorry. I think we're good.
Sleds,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Delkey,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Adair, Clark,
Yeah,
Shaw.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Vendor quotes to perform preliminary design engineering for street, water, sewer, infrastructure improvements. Ross, this could, Ross, well, actually, it's the three, Ross, Steve and Chris. So, you guys wanna,
Yeah, I'll take it. So over the last 2 to 3 years, water, streets, and sewer have, along with the DPW superintendent, have been looking at the condition of our village infrastructure, our road surfaces, and our utilities, water, sewer utilities. At this point, we've had 2 capital improvement plans. One was predominantly water focused. The second one included streets and sewer. That resulted in a list of what we consider to be the very bad infrastructure and the bad infrastructure. In some cases, it's not separated by much, but those are clearly the areas that we want to focus our attention on with any infrastructure updates in the near future, unless we get a road crater over on Jefferson or something like that, which I hope we don't have. Yeah. So we now know what's bad, we know how bad it is in general, and we know generally what the estimated cost to correct those deficiencies in 2023 dollars is. It's not cheap, and so the next logical step is to do a bit of a initial engineering analysis of what would be the best way to approach doing some repairs. How do you phase it? How do you sequence it? Can we do something less than full repair in some cases where we've expected full repair, and may be able to reline a sewer instead of rebuild the sewer? You may be able to leave a smaller water pipe for an area that doesn't need a higher capacity water pipe. There's a number of things we could potentially do. The 3 of us are not engineers, so we want an engineering company to take a look at it. We submitted a request for quote to 2 candidates on 18 July. It's about 4 weeks ago, so they have had a month to look at this. I want to say thanks initially to Rowe PSC and F&V Engineering. Those are the 2 guys we asked to quote this. Both of them did come back with quotes. If we do this, there's a report back to us in time for us to look at it in our budget preparations in January. If the requirement is to provide a report to council on 8 January, which is the first meeting of the new year. So I've looked over both of the quotes. Hopefully everybody else has as well. I was particularly pleased that there was only a $2,000 difference in the quotes, and it appears that both of the vendors substantially understand what it is we're trying to do. When I look at this stuff, given my previous experience doing this kind of stuff in the Army, you're looking for best value, not the lowest cost. I think both are qualified. F&V has been the company that has worked with us to develop the 2 CIPs, but Rowe PSC is, I guess, unofficially the village engineer, and we use Rowe quite a bit. Rowe is the guy doing the Lathrop Street. I would say that of the 2, Rowe had a bit more of a detailed explanation of what they were going to do for us, including 6 meetings at no additional cost to us. I didn't see that in the F&V report. There are some elements there were also some other elements that Roe added in that may or may not be germane to the infrastructure. I guess you could argue it. They talked about bridges, Chris, they talked about wastewater treatment plant and so on. So we would want to guide them, but again, I'm happy that they want to do more rather than less. F&V had a lower cost of $19,500. Roe had a cost of $21,500, so it's a $2,000 difference. I think if we move forward on this today, this will give them 3.5 months to do their analysis and come back with this report, which again is going to posture us to potentially make a decision about where do we go with infrastructure in the future, how do we fund it, and maybe even make a choice. You know, the dollars are going to be tough. That's the tough part about it. The easy part, I think, is figuring out what's bad. We now know what's bad. And we
No
know
argument
how to
that it's
qualify.
a disaster.
Yeah.
Right, there's no debating that. It's-
Yeah,
it's
and it may
a
be a,
sequence to get it fixed.
it may be a slow process. It may take a number of years, but you got to start
It
somewhere.
might be 30, but if you put it on a 30-year rotation,
Yeah.
and you get a 30th of it done, and you have a $30 million cost, and you have $1 million a year, you just chunk it away $1 million at a time.
Right.
Just keep after it, and the road will last 30 years. and
The
you
stuff
just-
that's, the stuff that's labeled as good is also going to deteriorate over time.
Certainly.
So-
So you
Yeah,
gotta put
let's get
everything
back
in
to
there.
what we're talking about,
Yeah.
the study here.
So-
you're filling in the motion.
I'd like to see if anybody's got any thoughts about either of the two quotes that we got back, that were in the packet. If not, I'm gonna make a motion.
Take care of that.
I recommend Row also. I mean, we've dealt with them quite a bit. They had some more stuff added in here. They know our financial situation. They want to look into what other debts we have, so we can do the best job with what we've got.
Yeah, I think it was a bit more of a comprehensive response to the request for quote from them, so.
You want to make your motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that Row PSC be selected to conduct the preliminary design engineering for street, water, sewer, infrastructure improvements at a quoted cost of $21,500.
Support. Okay, motion by Doug, supported by Swens. Are there any other questions or anything from the council?
Well, I'm glad they're both companies that we've worked with in the past. So it was pretty comprehensive. You know what this one does in that situation, you know what that one does in that situation. So
Yeah,
I think Roll's a good choice.
yeah. I thought about adding another one or two companies, but nobody else really knows us that well.
Well, let's take a roll call.
Pelkey,
Yes.
Sledds,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes?
Conan,
Yes.
Adair,
Yes.
Ballard.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we have the licensing agreement between the Village of Armada. Well, this might be premature.
It is, well, it is.
Let's,
That's what the title is.
We want to talk about the Superintendent Wagner has requested a fuel tank.
About council.
And I guess he would suggest that we get this, you know, like you rented it from them and you'd have an agreement with
There's a lease agreement.
Foster, a lease agreement. This is not something that's been budgeted. And also, it's not something that we know what the insurance implications are.
We do know it needs a rider, it requires a rider. I have not yet gotten an answer from them because I gave Dave the paperwork that needed to be filled out because I don't know anything about what he's doing. So he sent it to Foster, is what I understand, and I don't believe Foster's got it done yet to send back to me, to send to the insurance company to find out what the rider's gonna cost. So the cost right now is $60 a month for the for the gas tank. And it's my understanding that they gave a 2 cent, was it 2 cent? I think so.
Yeah, 2 cents per gallon.
Discount. Well, one of my questions is if they come and fill it, are they gonna fill it when it's $4 a gallon, or are they gonna fill it when it's
It's whatever the
$2.95?
prevailing cost.
Yeah.
Right, so,
Whatever's gonna be.
I mean, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, I'm just saying, you don't really have any control over it.
You
And
could
the
pre-buy,
need-
you
the
could
need
pre-buy
is
when
tank-
the cost is low and take it on consignment.
There you go.
This is probably something that we may wanna just think about and,
I'm gonna say table it.
Table it.
Because this was presented to me in terms of an emergency source of fuel. When this came about, Dave, I think, talked to the three of us, it was right after the power outage. And his concern is, gotta run out and find fuel someplace to come back and fill up generators and stuff like that. And so this is kind of morphed into something a little bit different. I don't know that we've done the homework. I'd like to see what's the difference between the cost of, if you're gonna do it, just purchase a tank instead of lease a tank, and what does that do for us? So we need to do more
The
homework.
liability cost.
That's my.
The liability's gonna be high.
Okay.
When I looked at the post office, I was the environmental coordinator, and we had a brand new state-of-the-art double line Woolens Corning storage tank put in. We took it out, the liability was $1 million a year.
Yeah.
and, of
Oh,
course,
my goodness.
we've never done this before, all these years.
Fix a lot of
Now-
stuff today.
I think our treasurer Ann has something she'd like to say.
Well, you're right, the liability, we need to know that
Yeah,
before you can make a decision. But the $60 fee that they're charging as well, and gonna give us a 2-cent discount, just so you can equate that
Yeah,
based on our usage, because we said, if you're gonna put this in, then the police need to use it as
yeah,
well.
we'll just quit
Stop
going up to
using
the gas
marathon
station.
card.
Mhm.
So based on our previous usage, it would save us maybe $10 a month.
Right.
So you're still
And
gonna
you're spending
spend $50 a month to.
Between,
Right, and this is more an issue of convenience, because it's not an emergency. We don't even, if this is something that we want to look at down the road, it can be talked about during the budget workshops. But it's not an emergency situation. You know, if the power goes out, they have gas at 32 and North Avenue.
Right.
You know, he can go down there, just like all of our residents do, if the power's out.
Yeah, it's our understanding 32 and North has got a generator, and so they'll be.
You asked me about a road, but I
Yes.
don't know what about
So,
the diesel tank. It's already down there.
But it's just, I can appreciate what Dave's saying in terms of an emergency, and that's maybe how we look at it, which means you don't need a big fuel storage, you may need a very small fuel storage, if you even do it. But if you've got access,
also,
The other issue we have
brings up the diesel tank.
is that there is already a diesel tank down there that I was completely unaware of. So that's already down there. I don't, and I understand how it happened now that it was explained to me, but the sewer plant had a diesel fuel tank down there when the construction was going on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. When the construction was going on. When COVID hit, it got moved because this gas station was always closed, and I don't believe 32 was open yet. Or if they weren't running 24 hours. So that diesel tank is already down there,
And there's no insurance.
and there's no insurance rider on it.
So
So
something happens.
now we're kind of in a pickle. So I don't wanna, I'm not gonna be able to get anything out of the insurance company until I get that paperwork back. They have to have that, and then they send it to somebody else for approval, and then they tell me what the rider cost is. There's no way for anybody to give me an idea of what that rider cost is right now. So, I understand it's convenient, and other municipalities may do it, but if it's $1 million a year, that would fix all of our streets, let's be realistic, so, so I don't know what,
That's what you have to carry.
I'm gonna throw
You're paying
this.
pennies on it.
Okay, well, okay, but
So it's not cheap.
my point is, it's, in all, honesty, I don't know what you wanna do about the diesel tank, because, again, I just learned about that last week.
Well,
So no insurance was called on, because that's what I do.
And none of us knew it was there, so we don't even
Yeah.
know if there was any safety precautions taken for where it's placed,
I don't know.
how it's being handled, how
Right.
it's.
And the foster agreement makes it very clear that if anything happens, they are not liable.
Well, that, we did ask Foster to strike that. Jeff had suggested that. I sent that over. They agreed to strike it out of both of them. They did.
I'll agreement too.
But
So you don't wanna, David's trying to do what he can do to think about the best interests of the village, but I don't think we have enough information, so I just say, let's table this until you get your
we'll table
insurance.
this till we get the information, then put it on the agenda.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now they're saying it's UL 142, so it has a rupture basin. That means you have to fail twice in order to get anything out of the tank. So the inside tank bursts, the sensor alarm goes off, the entire 500 gallons fits in the tank around the tank. And then you have to rupture that before you have leakage on the ground. It's called a rupture basin. So that's what the essence of UL 142 is. I had since I've
This
been
may
back
be
to those for years, I know what they
More
are.
trouble than it's worth.
Motion, okay, so we need
But
a
yeah, we
motion
got
to
the tote.
postpone this item.
Also moved it, we postponed.
Everybody's moving this.
Okay, who wants it?
Okay, we were gonna give this to Mr. Shaw, I owe him one, go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
Who seconds?
Or-
I'm sorry.
Do I have to
Doing your
make a
job.
motion or no?
Let Dave be.
To postpone this item until a future meeting.
Yep. And, motion by Shaw, supported by Melky.
Yeah.
Shaw. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Didn't call roll.
Oh, yes,
No, call roll, just. all in
just
favor?
call a general, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on.
Now, somebody needs to tell Dave because I'm not going to. Somebody else can do that.
When I talk to him in the morning, I'll tell him.
I'll be glad to tell him.
Okay.
Hey, I give Dave credit, he fights for what he wants. We don't always agree, but he's doing a great
He
job.
is doing it.
Okay, upcoming agenda items. I do have one myself, and that has to do with the garage door on the DPW building. This will give you all a chance to take a look at it. But it's starting to rust out and wear out. Dave's concerned that there's gonna be a lot of leakage of air. So that when it starts getting cold, we'll be heating, the heat will be going up.
Is that an insulated door that they have in there now?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So you might want to consider an insulated.
So, there's we do have a quote on a new door, but we didn't have it in time for today's meeting. And, you got a choice, you could wait till the budget, then put it in like April or May of next year, or you could act upon it now, whatever you think. You can do nothing, you can repair the door, you can replace the door, and personally, if we replace the door, I'd like to make it an automatic door, go up and down. And, so anyhow, this door will be on the agenda next meeting. I urge all of you to go down there, Dave will show you the door. Lyle, you'll be handling that up here. I might be in a colder place, Alaska at the time. Okay, do we have any other upcoming agenda items anybody like to add at this time?
Is Curtis coming in the next time for the?
No,
End of
no.
September.
I tried to get him in, but he's not.
Okay.
End of September.
SEMCOG is ready to go with their briefing, so why not?
Ross, I've discussed this with a couple of people. If they're gonna make a 10 or 15 minute presentation, it's fine, but if it's gonna be a half hour, 45 minutes, it should be done with a special. That's just a suggestion.
I think that's what he was suggesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me, it's gonna take more than 15 minutes, so it's, so I'll just work with Michelle, we'll figure out where we can potentially do that.
Okay, so that won't be on the agenda.
No.
Okay. Now, do we have any other citizen comments? Okay, that's good. Council comments?
So let me just say though, so suppose we do come up with a plan.
Citizens comment, you gotta stand up. You got the same routine.
Yeah, it's an awful plan. So suppose we do actually come up with a plan. Is it the normal policy that you share that with the community?
Yeah.
You know, you already got a copy of what we have, it's already been distributed to it. So I guess you know that it is our policy that we try to share with our residents.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ms. Barstow gave you that.
Yeah, I got,
Yeah,
so
see?
that's not a plan.
No,
It's
but
just a
that's
statement.
what we
where
got
we're
so
at.
far, that's where we're
right
at.
now.
But, yeah, so
You can, it'll be a
So-
public document,
Yeah.
yes, you can get it.
Yes, we'll be
Yes.
glad, it's not an open meeting, you know, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because
there'll be no secrets on this.
well, but a lot of the agenda items, we don't get copies of those, right?
All you gotta do is come in. Um, These are always available to the citizens. Okay, was there anything else, sir?
Nope.
Okay. Any council comments?
Concerts in the park, so over with, it was a successful year.
We had some awesome bands.
We
Awesome
did.
bands, you guys should have all been there.
The last one was great.
Yes.
Washington.
Yeah, he's been good each time we had him. The one before that was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, they were new.
They were good.
Okay. Community events.
The fair.
Hey,
Going.
I was over there today.
Yeah.
We saw your picture.
It's, did you really?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it's gonna be another great fair. Got a new first aid building there, chief?
Chris.
Chris.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, once you're the chief, you're always the chief.
That's right.
Always the chief.
So,
Always.
excuse us if we still call you chief.
Your last highest position,
Yeah.
just like the
Yeah.
Secretary of State, they always call her Madam Secretary.
There you go. So, yeah, anyhow, the fair looks like it's gonna be great again. So, any other community events? Okay. We have no closed session, so I will entertain a motion.
The time is 7:47. I move to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Ballard, supported by Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Everybody's on, but get out of here.
There you go.